Good morning, guys. JT here, and here are my takeaways from today's sales huddle over at UWM. So let's get right to it. Today, guys, okay, given how cold it is, there was over 600 in attendance at UWM in Michigan, all throughout the country, given how cold it is. So what does that tell you? That tells you that who's ever in this business right now is actually obsessed in getting better. So keep that in mind. And by the way, it was 29 degrees. And I should also tell you, there is an ice storm headed their way. And Claudia, this is for you. Every single loan that we submit over at UWM we ought to be using the ultimate submission feature. Every single loan that you as a loan officer put through UWM ought to be using the ultimate submission feature. What does that mean to you as a loan officer? Well, that means that your approval is within 24 hours, if not less touches, because that's how we roll, and a better experience for the consumer. Okay, guys, check this out. Okay, I've gotten a couple of phone calls from some of you with regards to why our credit report fee has increased. Well, let's back up a little bit. All right, so hold on, guys. Okay, so if you've been in the business for more than 15 years, like I have, I will tell you that the credit reports have always been $32 to $35. 15 years later, finally, they decided to up the pricing on the credit reports from $35 to $60-something. So if you are surprised, I wouldn't be, because from one day to another, look at what the gas did. Look at what the eggs did, guys. But check this out. What you could do is you can use UWM's soft check. And what that does is a couple of things. Number one, it allows you to run a soft pull on a consumer for as little as like $22. Number two, it lets you run DU or AUS. And then number three, it gives you that time where you can opt out your client from those phone calls. And then while they're shopping, it gives you time to submit the loan over to the bank. So that is a good strategy. That's not something that I personally have used. I'm a big fan of just pulling the Band-Aid immediately. I run a tri-merge credit report, the $67. I like to see how the borrower is looking so that there's just no surprises down the line. But that is how I do it. You are the driver of your own business. Totally up to you. Number 4, guys, UWM Live. That's right around the corner. And for those of you that attended UWM Live last year, gosh, was it amazing. I mean, check this out. Picture Ampy, Efren, myself, Terry, our previous account executive over at UWM, sitting front row. You've got Matt Ishbia. Then you've got this ginormous Tony Robbins, which, by the way, that was my first time seeing him that close up. Now picture this. You got Tony Robbins, this ginormous guy, right? On stage. All of a sudden he gets off. And then he asks a question. And then you've got, to my right, you've got Ampy. Ampy raises her hand. Tony Robbins is approaching her. And then guess what Ampy does? Ampy climbs on him, all right? So to tell you the least, Anthony Robbins carried Ampy, and Ampy kissed Anthony Robbins. Ain't that something? So that's what happened last year at UWM Live. You don't wanna miss what happens this year at UWM Live. I know that some of you guys have already been getting your room. I also know that a lot of the rooms have been selling or filling up quick. So you wanna take care of that as soon as possible, okay? All right, number 5, leverage your resources. All right, there's a big difference between leverage and taking advantage, okay? Here's what I mean by that, okay? UWM's been an amazing partner to us. Now, the source, okay? Go to the source, get your information there. Or call our amazing account executive. Have you talked to that guy? That guy is very knowledgeable. I have a deal that not a whole lot of banks I knew we're gonna be able to get this done. I called the guy, asked him a couple of questions, and dude, the guy got back to me. By the way, let me back up a little bit. The guy was off. On his day off, he picked up the phone, he did the research, and he called me back. That is amazing. Leverage your resources, guys. All right, this is very important. This is number 6, confidence. Now, don't get it twisted. Confidence, not cockiness. There's a big difference. And there's a misperception about salespeople, right? You know, oftentimes they say that, you know, you're such a great bullshitter, you be a great salesperson. I totally disagree with that. A great salesperson is made up of someone that brings value, someone that's honest, someone that's genuine, someone that actually wants to help someone. Now, cockiness is someone that's full of themselves, someone that, you know, takes advantage of their talent, someone that doesn't do the work. So don't get it twisted. Confidence. In today's market, you've got to be confident. Now, in order for you to gain confidence, well, you've got to, number 1, be courageous. Number 2, you've got to know your craft, right? But if you're doing your work during the weekend or during your time off, like looking at guidelines, like studying your craft, like being obsessed with your business is how, or one way of how, you gain confidence. And I tell you that when you're sitting across the consumer, or when you're sitting across a real estate agent, they will feel your confidence. You will radiate that. Now, if you're cocky, you'll also radiate that, and they'll be able to catch up on that, and they're not gonna wanna work with you. Trust me, been there, done that. I'll give you an example. Speaking of confidence, okay? When I used to go out in the field, okay, I was very confident. Number one, because it's required. Number two, because I could be confident because I knew my things. Not only did I know my things, but check this out. What I would do is I would go out in and out of offices with my 4155. And if you don't know what the 4155 is, then you ought to Google that, okay? And agents would ask me, yo, JT, what are you carrying there? What are you carrying in that binder? Look, it's the 4155. Do you have any questions? Any FHA questions? And during that time, FHA deals were very popular because the stated income had just left and just banks weren't even open to that. So that's my story on confidence. Reputation. Guys, we recently brought someone on board, and for those of you that haven't met her, you need to come by the office. For those of you that have met her, you know what I'm talking about. But oftentimes we've talked about this one thing, reputation. Reputation is one of those things that you create for yourself based on how you perform, based on the person you are, based on your morals and your values. Now, my question to you is, if I was to ask what your reputation is out there, what would they say? Now, the reputation, don't get that twisted, okay? There's a reputation, and someone can say what your reputation is if they've worked with you, right? Now, what the narrative is of you is totally different from your reputation. The narrative we can control, right? Through social media, et cetera, et cetera. But if somebody's actually worked with you hand in hand, then, there's something to say about how you performed, and, that is your reputation. So guarded with your life. Your reputation matters. Now, earlier this week, we set out to do this power of hour. Now, during that power of hour, which by the way, we extended it to like an additional hour. It's supposed to be 1 hour. We ended up going 2 hours strong. Now, what that power of hour is, where nothing else matters during that time. And during that time, you 100% make phone calls to whomever. I'll give you an example. Let's just say real estate agent. You're targeting real estate agents so that they can refer you business. Now, during that power of hour, nothing else mattered other than the amount of phone calls we were making to who we were making them to, and for one sole purpose. And that purpose was to connect with them, to bring them something of value. And the leads were simply going to be a byproduct of that. Now, here's what came up, that when you carve out X amount of time from your day, nothing else matters, and you are being intentional. I suggest that you do that day in, day out, right? Be intentional with whatever that you are doing. Now, if you're on your Instagram, be intentional, 10, 15 minutes, okay? Be intentional. That's okay. I got it, right? But I don't want you to then be supposedly prospecting, and then, as the phone is ringing, you're scrolling through your Instagram. That's not being intentional. You got to be in the game, right? You've got to be ready so that whenever they pick up, you don't have to get ready. Guys, the moral of this, be intentional and make it count. Number 10, consistency. That is one of the power words that makes mass, right? Mindset, accountability, consistency, and strategies, right? With whatever you do, consistency. If you set out, or if you block out 1 hour from your calendar to make outbound phone calls, either to real estate agents, follow up, et cetera, you've got to be consistent. Just because you block out 1 hour this week and nothing happens, you can't expect that you build a business within 1 hour of one whole week, right? It takes time, it takes consistency, it takes dedication. You've got to do it. Number 11, let's talk about the top 3 activities a loan officer ought to be doing. And I truly believe that a loan officer ought to be doing 3 things. Number 1, prospecting. Number 2, presenting. Number 3, creating relationships. Gotta focus on those 3 items. Otherwise, I do not know what you are doing. All right, guys. Lastly, if you are trying to win, you've got to tap in. If you are trying to lose, make excuses. I kind of like that, because we've got this gentleman by the name of Mateen Cleaves that, as always, comes up and wraps up the meeting, brings the whole meeting back home, and he says, if you want to win, tap in. If you want to lose, make excuses. And it kind of makes sense, guys. Look, if you want to win, you've got to tap in. And if you want to lose, well, it doesn't take very much, right? It's almost by default that the human being makes excuses. And so by default, whether you know it or not, you're losing. So with that being said, if you want to win, tap in. And to that point, the only person that is holding you from where you want to be is yourself. I mean, and I've been telling you guys this for a very long time. The only person that can either help you, the only competition, the only person that can hurt you, the only person is that person in the mirror. So you've got a choice. You want that person in the mirror to help you succeed, help you make excuses. What is it? You decide. It's totally up to you. I'll wrap it up with this. The price of winning. These past 2 years, everybody won, okay? It didn't take very much work. It doesn't take very much effort. It doesn't take very much education. It don't take very many strategies to sell a 1.993% interest rate. It just doesn't, okay? And by the way, it's not normal. So what I'm trying to say by that is that this market is a normal market, and there is a price for you to stay in business. There's a price to win. And that price is you got to put in the work, endless hours, countless hours. You got to be available on the weekends. You've got to be available when your real estate partners call you. You've got to be available when your client calls you and has questions about their disclosures, whether it be at 9, 10 p.m. There's a price you've got to pay to win. Don't lose the sight of where you're headed. Oftentimes when the tough get going, we kind of get discouraged and we forget about the goal that we set out at the beginning of the year. Don't lose sight of that. Remember, also at the beginning of the year, guys, we hosted this event on business planning. Remember, most business fail due to lack of character, and most business plans fail due to lack of character. Oftentimes, we've got to ask ourselves, do we need to check our character or do we need to check our business plan? Oftentimes, we have these big goals, but is our character, is our work ethic matching the goals that we have? And if not, then maybe either we check our character, check our work ethic, or you simply check your goals and bring them down so that they match your work ethic. You decide. Again, the only person that can hold you from where you want to be is yourself. Guys, I hope you found this of value. These are JT's takeaways. Remember that every single Wednesday, what I do is it's my day off from the gym. I don't go to the gym. I still wake up early and I join UWM's Sales Huddle with the intention to share my takeaways with you so that perhaps you find 1 or 2 things that can help you in your day, that can help you in your week, and the days to come that could potentially make a difference. Guys, if you found this of value, please give this a thumbs up. Also, if you found it of value, I look forward to sharing your takeaways from these takeaways. Guys, have a great day and let's dominate.